Hi everybody, and welcome back to Blue Luna Craft. Today I want to talk about one particular candle from Goose Creek that I received in an eBay lot recently. I received the same candle, Backyard Blooms, but from two different years. The internet tells me this one is from 2021, and this one is from this year, 2026, and it's not available on their website anymore, so I'm assuming that means it's sold out. So, same fragrance, two different candles. Are they going to perform the same? What happens to candles over time? The basics are this. Some things to consider when storing your candles is the environment in which you store them. You want to store them in a cool, dark place where it's not too hot and it's not too humid. You also want to make sure that they're not in direct sunlight, artificial or natural sunlight, because that will help speed up the degradation of the oils, and they'll evaporate and it affects the wax and the wick. So keep your candles cool, dark place with the lids on. So how long do candles last, specifically scented candles? So the internet tells me 1 to 2 years for soy. Paraffin is longer. So I was thinking, is there a difference between these two candles? Since I actually have candles in two different time frames, this would be a good time to get a little sciencey and perform a experiment of sorts. So, unknown factors is the storage of these candles. So I'm assuming if they were stored at Goose Creek in a candle, manufacturing facility, that they were in a controlled environment, meaning that they were properly stored, temperature, humidity, all that. So we're going to run under that assumption. Also, we don't know if the waxes and oils and wicks were all sourced from the same manufacturer, if that changed between 2021 and now. And if it did, does it make a difference? Is it a better quality wax, a better quality oil, a better quality wick? We're going to find out. Also, I looked at the vessels and they appear to be the same width, height, diameter. They're both 14.5 ounces, and the lids also appear to seal the same. So that appears to be consistent, the vessel that the waxes were poured into. Also, another thing that we don't know is what was the environment like when they were poured and blended? Does that make a difference? I'm sure somebody in the candle manufacturing world has answers to all these questions. So I'm just going by what my findings are and what the internet tells me. 2021, 2026, Backroad Blooms. So the scent notes on the 2026 are listed on the bottom, and they are wild honeysuckle, orange blossom, spring lilies, and bright citrus. On the 2021, there's no scent notes listed. Now, this is consistent with a lot of their older candles. They didn't list the scent notes on them to assume that's the same. And why? Because they smell almost the same. The 2021 on cold, the orange blossom note is not as strong as the 2026. Now, orange blossom and honeysuckle are very strong, fragrant florals, along with something like a gardenia. There's no gardenia in these, but these are very strong floral candles. This one has a lot of honeysuckle, and it also is it's still very sweet. It's still very vibrant. It's still, when you open this, you can smell it before you get close to it. So this is a really fragrant, good floral even after 5 years. Now that is on cold. So the 2026 version, when you open this up, you get orange blossom. The orange blossom is far more prevalent in this one than the older one. You can also smell the honeysuckle. And those are the two components of this candle that are the front runners. So what I can assume is that orange blossom fragrant fades faster than the honeysuckle on cold. So does this make a difference on warm? Well, I'm going to tell you what I found out. Okay, let me set the stage for you. I did these in my kitchen dining area. It was 74 degrees in my house that day, 50% humidity, and that stayed pretty constant throughout my experiment. So I did these experiments for 2 hours for each candle. In between, I opened the windows, aired out my house. I went outside, sniffed some coffee to neutralize my nose to start all over again, and made sure my house was starting off with no scent left from the 2021 before I started the 2026. Each experiment lasted about 2 hours. A couple things. I did not trim the wicks on either of these. I left the wicks as is. I made observations, within 5 minutes. I also went back and made observations at the 1 hour mark and at the 2 hour mark. Okay, so 2021, you're up. After 5 minutes, I observed that the honeysuckle was very fragrant in this candle. So I let it go. And as it burned, it definitely did become more aromatic in my home. But after the 1 hour mark, I noticed that there was almost a complete wax pool. Didn't quite make it, but it was filling the house and it was flowing very well. I would say about 8 out of 10. Also, the orange blossom did start to come to life a little bit better, and it had a brightness to it, and it was very, very fragrant. Like I said before, orange blossom and honeysuckle, bangers. So I let it burn, and at the 2 hour mark, it was very, very fragrant. I also noticed around the edges, and they both had this, there was little bubbles around the edges popping up around the glass. So I said, I never really noticed this before in candles, but then again, I wasn't watching candles like I was with these because I was doing my sciencey experiment with them. That didn't affect anything, the performance. They had a nice burn, pretty even burn. The wicks seemed to perform really well. Also, at the end of the 2 hours, it had about a 3/4 of an inch depth in liquid wax, and it looked nice. I used my wick pick to extinguish it, and it went out, and the wicks bounced back into place pretty easily. With my wick pick, I usually just take the wick and dip it in till it's extinguished, and then I prop it back up with my wick pick. And yeah, it was good. It was really good. So I was pleased. I was pleased with how the 2021 did. So I said, let's air out the house and start over and go with the 2026. This is the kind of things that you can do when you're retired and you have plenty of time. Not a bad thing, though, is it? So, 2026. Here she is. Oh, and by the way, let me mention, and I have mentioned this before, that the label, you look up top, you can see that it's like a lattice. And when it burns down, it is so pretty. Um, some labels that Goose Creek has been coming out with lately are just beautiful. And I have to give them props for that. There's daisies on this one, though, even though there's no daisies. as a scent. I don't know why they didn't use an orange blossom or a honeysuckle. It's okay. It's still pretty. It says spring. So this one, I did not trim the wick as well. And after 5 minutes, I'm looking at my notes here, I had honeysuckle and the orange blossom came through. So the orange blossom seemed to appear a lot sooner in the newer pour. And that was after 5 minutes. So after an hour, it had a complete wax pool, and it had about a 1/4 inch of liquid wax, whereas the other one was a little slower in getting there. But hey, it got there. It had a very nice burn. The throw, I would think, was just a tad better than the 2021. It was very fragrant. It filled my home pretty quickly. And it was consistent in that regards, where it just smelled like flowers for sure. So then at the 2-hour mark, it was full strength, didn't let me down. It was gorgeous. It was so strong. The orange, the honeysuckle, there was a brightness that came out with it. The candle, the wicks performed well. They didn't get too high. They stayed nice. So the wicks, both of them, performed very well. The waxes, the 2021, took a little longer to pull out, but just as fragrant in the end. Also, the 2026 also had about 3/4 of an inch of liquid wax, and I extinguish it in the same manner with my wick pick, and the fragrance lingered. It does linger for a long time. I can't compare the lingering to the other one because I aired out my house, because this took me from start to finish for these about 5 hours. So it was interesting. So my conclusions are that even though on cold they were different, and the older one wasn't as vibrant, especially with the orange blossom, when they were warmed, they both end up throwing pretty much the same. I guess I would give the 21 maybe an 8 out of 10, and the 26 a 9 out of 10. They were so close though. The orange blossom, if you like orange blossom, the 2026 was a tad bit stronger. Now, it's a lovely candle. Both of them are. So, I am going to conclude that yes, maybe the internet is right, that they do they do change over time. But in this case, for these candles from Goose Creek, the difference isn't huge. So I was pleased with the outcome. So I'm going to perform this experiment again. Hopefully in the near future, I'll get that video up with Lavender Twilight. I have an old Lavender Twilight and a new Lavender Twilight. And in my unboxing of my eBay lot video that I recently posted, one smelled more like blueberry than the other. One had a little more lavender than the other on cold. So how will they perform? We're going to find out, because hey, it's kind of fun. So why not, right? If you have any questions or insights or any knowledge that you would like to share about candles, especially older versus new, drop me a comment. I would love your input, your expertise, and also like, follow, and share. It helps my Instagram and YouTube growth, and I would appreciate that. I will talk to you again. Take care, everybody. Thanks for hanging with me.